30-minute reviews. I am Adam. It is 9 o'clock in the morning. Today is Thursday. It's weird. We didn't really get a spring this year. We went right to summer, kind of, where it's like almost 70 degrees, and I'm leaving to go to work. It's just kind of silly to me. I saw one of those toy cars parallel parked. So weird. But here we are, and we are been a slow news week. It has been a very slow news week because of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness occupying all the bandwidth that is out there. Because, the movie's out, so the press tour is on full alert. And as a result, people don't want to, compete with that. Like, just look at this weekend's box office. It's like, there's the Blumhouse production of Firestarter, which I'm assuming they have to think is not going to do very well. Otherwise, they wouldn't release it opposite, the week after Multiverse of Madness comes out. And then, what was the other one? And then, there's a movie Family Camp that I didn't hear of until I got a notification from the AMC app that it was opening this weekend, and I was like, oh, that movie exists? Like, I didn't see a trailer for it, and I go to the movies fairly consistently. I didn't see a trailer for it or anything, and it's just kind of coming out. And, that's, it's going to be one of those slow weeks, because no one wants to compete with the train in this sphere. Like, right now, it's occupying a lot of the press time, because it's like they're on press tours, and now we're at the point where people can start asking questions about the cameos in the movie and all of that. Like, it is it is one of those things where it's like we have time now. So, like, yeah. What the fuck? So, yeah, so here we are, and I think that the biggest, thing we can do is answer some common listener questions. So, listener question I get most often, which is something that I've answered very often, because it is asked very often, is what would you adapt if you had the chance to adapt a book or a comic or something like that into a TV show? And it's one of those things where it's like I look at the stories that are being told, and I'm like, I kind of want to, if I were to do something like that, like, I would want to be able to do the book justice, even if that means, doing animation for it. Because I feel like we're at a stage now where animation, it still has a stigma attached to it. I mean, Lord and Miller had that great op-ed piece about why animation shouldn't be stigmatized, because it's a medium more than it's a what's it called? It's a medium, not like a genre, and especially it's not specifically designed for children. I mean, look at the animated shorts that came out this year. Of the animated shorts, there was one that were nominated for Best Animated Short. One of them was really family friendly, and that was Robin. And the other four, like, Box Ballet was probably the closest to being not adult oriented. But I'm fairly certain you see the guy's ass in it, if I remember correctly. And then, like, the other ones were, like, that one Bestial was just haunting, and it had bestiality in it, and it was just weird. Like, same thing with Affairs of the Art, which had a lot of nudity and, sexual content and all of that. And the best one, the windshield wiper, hands down the best one of the bunch was what's it called? It had nudity in it, and I think it had some hardcore fucking at one point. But it is so well done, and just, beautiful use of not just the medium of animation and blending art styles and all of that, but also the use of the short format. Like, I think that my two favorite shorts of the year were that one, and I know this wasn't the question, but that one and what was the other one was called? I forgot the name of it, but the one with the guy who is in jail. He gets arrested for the crime. He doesn't know what crime it is, and they're just kind of strong-arming him through the system. And it's one of those things where it's like, those two are the strongest ones, because to me, they tell a cohesive narrative. And I know that the other, I don't remember the names of the live action ones. I don't think the live action ones really stuck with me as much as the animated ones did. And except for the one live action one that won, which even that I don't remember its name. But looking at these, looking at these shorts, I think that, those two made the best use of the genre. But like that said, that's all a very long way of getting to, I think the Unwanteds, the series, the Unwanteds, that would work very well, especially as an animated series, when you have the dreary and drab black and white of one side, and then when they go to the magical world, and the way that, art is used to personify magic. There's a lot of fun you can have with animation in that. I think that's a great thing to go with. There are a few shorts by Ted Chiang that I would like, and I'm not saying I'm Villeneuve, but if I had the chance, I think Lifestyles of Software Objects, which is off Exhalation, is a great one. You can get a great short out of the titular one, Exhalation. And you can get a pretty solid movie out of The Alchemist's Gate, I think it was called, the first story in the collection. But Lifestyle of Software Objects, and there was the last one in that. I forgot the name. Dizziness is this something of anxiety, or anxiety is this something of dizziness. It's about this company that figured out how you can look into parallel universes, and because you can look into parallel universes, you can see the other lives and see what other decisions you've made, and you can see how that would have played out instead of the decisions you did make. And that that is such an interesting concept that I think you can have a lot of fun with it. And then on top of it, it's not just that, but there's also the There's also the aspect of it that is what's what I'm looking for here? The romance aspect of it, of the two actors, and the crime aspect of it from the people who are trying to take advantage of that to try and get a lot of money out of it after stealing these alternate universe, I think they're prisms, they call them. But that's another one that would be really cool, I think, as a story. I think Omphalos is also good. I don't think I have the knowledge really to be able to do that one justice. Because I think that one requires a stronger hand, because there's a lot of religious undertones, and I think adapting it from first to third person would be a tough thing for that story, but it's also really good. And then there's one about the Tower of Babel that was great. It's great. It's almost a religious allegory about it, and it's really good. And then I forgot the author's name, but it was in The Hidden Girl, the anthology, and I forgot the name of the short story, but there's one about this girl who died in a mass shooting event, and her family turns her into like the poster child for what's it called? For like, you know, gun control, and a bunch of nut jobs start using the daughter's image and likeness because of how much they put out of the daughter to try and use to impose change. They started using it against the family by like superimposing her into graphic things and like pornography and stuff. And it gets to the point at the end where the mother can't deal with it anymore, so she has to wipe her memory of her daughter from her mind. It is such a heartbreaking story, and I think that one could be good. I feel like there are people who would take issue with that, and it would be like, you know, The Hunt, but it is such a great story. So yeah. What else was there? Going into other arenas, I think that telling the, you know, Dan Guzman, I think his name is, had a few interesting series I used to read as a kid that I don't think ever got justice on screen. I feel like what was the name of the story? There was the $1 Million Shot series, which was basically the same conceit of every one of them, where it's like you have someone who's picked, they're gonna have to take $1 million shot in a sporting event. It's, you know, a hockey, they get a goal, they have to do that. They have to get a you know, they have to make a basket, they have to hit a home run or something like that. And if they do that, they win $1 million. And it's about the family trying to work in this aspect of this, you know, this person who is living their life and then has to work that into their, you know, try and make this 1 in a million shot to win the money because they need the money. And it is, despite being, you know, ostensibly mid-grade children's books, they are still, you know, looks at, you know, it's a look at poverty, really, is what it is. It's like the way that they, you know, do that. The hockey one is probably my favorite, where it's like the grandmother in the wheelchair is the one who gets picked. So they have to, like, at first they ask whatever the team was, like, can she do it from the wheelchair because she can't stand? And they're like, yeah, she can do it from the wheelchair. So they do that, and it's like, all right. So they train it, and it's like, then the grandmother dies, and they ask, like, can my son do it instead? And it's like, yeah. And then they get there, and he's ready to do it. And he's like, oh, I can make that shot. And it's like they totally changed the rules on him. Like, first the kid has to do it from the wheelchair, and then instead of getting it into the goal, which would be easy enough, you know, for someone who's doing that. I mean, without a goalie, because there is no. It's not like you're sitting there and they're gonna fucking throw like fucking Lundqvist up there and be like, we're gonna stop the deal from getting $1 million. It's like, no, they're going, like, you just need to get it into the empty goal, or hit a, like, they put a check for $1 million on the ice, and it's like, you need to hit that. And it's such a great story, and you know, it is, like, all of them are so well done. But that one, and then there was also the one with the baseball cards that I really like. And this is the one that every time I do this bit, I always mention, and I'm always surprised that the MLB hasn't done it yet. Because the MLB, unlike, I would say, really any other sporting event, because really, baseball, I think more so than most other sports, has this mythic quality to its legends. Like, and I think that part of it comes from the fact that baseball has the longevity that other sports don't. Like, we don't see this with basketball or with, you know, football or hockey or anything like that. It's this idea that, like, you know, the baseball legends as we know them, you know, from across the league and across, you know, the over 100 years that baseball's been around, there's this kind of, like, mythic quality to the heroes where it's like, we can name the baseball greats, the Lou Gehrig's, the Joe DiMaggio's. I mean, it could also be that I'm a Yankee fan, and the Yankees have a prolific history of famous players who were not just legendary players, but also pop culture icons. But there are the other stories. The story of Shoeless Joe Jackson, the story of Honus Wagner, the story of Jackie Robinson, the story of Willie Mays, and all these other people who are still major figures in the sport. And there's still people that we know to this day. And I'm surprised that baseball hasn't done the baseball card adventures, I think it was called, with Joe. I think they called him Stash, if I remember correctly. And it's this kid, he plays Little League Baseball, and his father gives him baseball cards, and he discovers at a very young age that by holding the baseball card, he can travel back in time and have adventures with the various baseball players. So, like, in one book, he goes back in time and hangs out with Babe Ruth. In one book, he goes back in time and he hangs out with Honus Wagner. Because that one was the most unbelievable, because I remember even as a kid reading it, and I'm like, this motherfucker's cleaning out his neighbor's attic and finds a Honus Wagner card, and like, come the fuck on. Abner Doubleday in one episode, which is, I think, that even goes into the Civil War. He hangs, Jackie Robinson, Mickey, but it's not Mickey Mantle. I forgot her last name, but it's from the Women's League during World War II. So you can use this as an opportunity to tell the stories of the greats, especially considering how much the baseball documentary from Ken Burns has been fetishized over the years and has become a beloved documentary. It's a great documentary. If anyone has not watched Baseball by Ken Burns and you have a decade to kill, it is definitely worth a watch. But this kind of thing, I think, would be great for the sport if they did it. And I mean, look, you're gonna give actors the opportunity to portray icons of American, if not American pop culture history, American history, period. Where it's like, who wouldn't want to play Babe Ruth? Who wouldn't want to play Jackie Robinson? I mean, we just saw 42 not too long ago with Chadwick Boseman, and it's a great movie. But I think that's something that they could definitely get into and really have fun with. I just have a feeling that if baseball is the one who's making it, if the MLB is the one who's making it and approving it, they're probably not going to do the Shoeless Joe episode, because the book, at least, took a very apologetic view towards Shoeless Joe, who is still serving out, despite being dead for quite some time, is still banned from the sport for life, to the point where he's not even allowed. He will never be in the Hall of Fame, despite having Hall of Fame numbers, because of his role in the Black Sox scandal in 1919, despite the fact that the evidence that he actually was involved is, at best, inconclusive, if not entirely fabricated. So it is one of those things. So we'll wrap up there for today. If you have other listener questions, go ahead and send them in to 30minutereviews@gmail.com, and we will address them. So until next time, have a great rest of your week.